My name is Aaron, and for 3 years, I worked as a mechanical engineer at a mid-sized manufacturing company under a man named Philip Reyes, our head of R&D. 18 months ago, I started working on a redesign for one of our product lines in my spare time. Nights, weekends, whenever I had an idea worth testing. It wasn't part of my assigned work. It was something I built because I genuinely thought it could solve a problem our whole industry had been struggling with for years. A more efficient cooling mechanism for industrial equipment that could cut energy costs by nearly 30%. I brought early prototypes to Philip about 8 months in, mostly because I wanted his opinion, and honestly, because I hoped the company might want to develop it properly with real resources behind it. He seemed impressed. Too impressed, looking back. He started asking a lot of specific questions about the mechanism, the materials, the tolerances. I answered everything, because at that point, I trusted him completely. 3 weeks later, I filed a provisional patent application. It's something my dad, who's a patent attorney, drilled into me since I was a teenager. If you invent something on your own time and your own dime, protect it before you show anyone important. I'd almost skipped that step out of excitement, but I didn't. Filed and dated, my name only, completely separate from the company. I didn't tell Philip I'd filed. I didn't think I needed to yet. Then, 4 months ago, HR called me into a meeting completely out of nowhere. Philip was there too, sitting very still, not making eye contact. They told me my position was being eliminated due to restructuring, effective in 2 weeks. No warning, no performance issues on record, nothing. I got in a strong review just 5 months earlier. I remember sitting in the parking lot afterward for almost 20 minutes before I could even start my car. Then, 3 days after my last day, a coworker I still kept in touch with sent me a link, almost casually. Like it was just interesting company news. Our company had filed a full utility patent application. Same cooling mechanism, same drawings. Nearly identical to sketches I'd shown Philip that day with a few surface-level tweaks. Listed inventor Philip Reyes. I sat there staring at my screen for a long time. I called my dad that same night. He asked me one question. Did you file first? I told him yes, months before I ever brought it to Philip. He was quiet for a second, then said, then he just made the worst mistake of his career. We pulled my provisional filing. Time-stamped, notarized lab notes, even an email I'd sent myself with photos of the working prototype months before that meeting with Philip. My dad connected me with a patent litigation attorney he'd worked with for over a decade. The company's legal team tried to argue it was developed collaboratively and that Philip had contributed key design elements. But provisional patents exist for exactly this reason. The paper trail wasn't just clear, it was airtight. My filing predated Philip's by 4 months, and the technical drawings were, in places, pulled almost directly from photos I could prove I'd taken in my own garage. Once the company's own patent counsel reviewed the evidence internally, they realized how badly exposed they were, not just for the patent conflict, but for what could easily be framed as retaliatory termination right before a valuable invention became public. Companies do not want that story getting out, especially not to investors or, worse, to a jury. We settled within 6 weeks. I can't share every detail. There's an NDA, but I'll say this. My name is the sole inventor of record on the final patent. The company licenses the technology from me now, not the other way around, and the settlement more than covered the 8 months of lost income, plus quite a bit more. Philip was let go about 2 months after that. I heard through a former coworker that leadership found out he'd tried something similar with another engineer's idea 2 years before I ever got there, but that person hadn't filed anything on their own, so there was nothing to fight with. I think about that a lot. How close I came to skipping that one boring, unglamorous step my dad always nagged me about. A single form, filed months before I even thought I'd need it. Philip assumed that, because I worked for him, my ideas belonged to him too. He never once considered that I might have already protected what was mine, quietly, long before he ever tried to take it.